Hello everyone. On today's Command Modern Operations tutorial, we're going to be concentrating on the map editor slash scenario editor side of things with a focus on IADs as well as SAMs. So in our little scenario here, we're probably going to have to do this particular video twice. Once with legacy systems, and then again, we're going to have to do it probably with modern systems. So our scenario is pretty straightforward here. We have the nice British Isles, the United Kingdom. And we've basically taken the entire island of Ireland here and pretty much added a bunch of strategic and tactical targets to it. Meanwhile, in about 30 minutes, the entire United Kingdom Air Force is going to show up. I should say the English Air Force, the RAF, are going to show up and do the best damage they possibly can to it. So our job as mission designers is to make a very, very challenging IADS, Integrated Air Defense System, that we can basically counter this. Keep in mind, this is back in 1980, so while the harms are not nearly as deadly because they hadn't been invented yet, they still have quite a good amount of effect with the strikes and stuff like that, and we'll deal with that a little later on. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at our target region here. This is Ireland, of course. Obviously, in the real world, Ireland split into Ireland and North Ireland. I'm not going to get too crazy into that, but what I am going to do is take a look at the different types of targets we have in the actual island itself that we set up. We have some basically industry in the south. We have a pretty good concentration of communication hubs, government buildings here in the kind of the east. Coming up this way, we have a bunch of bunkers for controls, military installations, as well as power plants. And then we have military docks at pretty much all the major locations. Now, remember, the goal of SAMs is to shoot down enemy aircraft. Now, the real purpose is basically to deny the enemy the ability to use their aircraft in a way that affects us. So how are we going to figure this out? Well, first things first, we need to know that the enemy planes are coming. And as a mission designer, usually we do that with some kind of combination of early warning radar, as well as maybe visual methods, maybe some ESM, stuff along those lines. So let's do that first. I'm going to go actually shut this off. So how do we design an early warning network for an island such as this? Well, first things first, you got to look at the terrain. So I'm going to go ahead and flip on a terrain level real quickly. And everything is going to make much more sense once you look at it from a terrain perspective. Ah, there we go. So the actual country here is not the highest country, but what it is it's very varied in its type of land. You can see that there's very large plains in the middle. There's some really seriously large mountains in the south. Again, I think 2,300 feet, something like that. And then we have some mountains up at the top. More importantly, and this is the thing everybody misses, is the fact we're surrounded by water. You can't hide behind water, which means that if any enemy were to launch from England over here, they'd have to fly over water in order to detect us. That would mean that our early warning setup has to take that into account. Now, if I wanted to be easy about this, I could just go to the middle of the map, go ahead and get myself a pretty classic, let's do like a P40 radar or something like that, slap that in the middle, and wha-bam, haha, right? Yeah, no. The problem is that there's mountains right here. If we're actually to flip on this really amazing tool called the LOS tool, we could see that if I set this to a target that was, let's say, 3,000, that's about 10,000 feet, refresh, you can see I can see everybody there. But once I went out to, oh, this is a bad idea, don't do that. Yeah, that's probably, that was, we killed it. Let me go ahead and close that. It has a maximum limitation. So you can see at an altitude of 10,000 feet, I can't actually detect you past the mountains that go around the outside of this incredible country here. So kind of keep that in the back of your head when you're designing these systems. While it is tempting to park one in the middle that has amazing range, you're never actually going to be able to see the exterior of the island because of the terrain. Now, one thing I will throw out as well is think about altitude for a second here. The higher up a radar is, the farther it can see over the horizon. That's going to be a big limiting factor. We talked about that in our seed video. Basically, because the Earth is curved, if I put it on a flat ground, the Earth curves away and I can't see behind the curve of the Earth. So that would mean our nice little radar set right here, if we were going to set one radar in the middle of the island, it'd probably be better to put it up high. So I'm actually going to go move it right over to here. Let's see if that actually helped us real quickly, though. That's interesting. Apparently, we didn't put it on the highest part of the mountain because you could actually see that we were completely blind to the south there. I'm gonna go ahead and move my mouse here. Ah, that's why, 761 feet. Let's go ahead and park that guy right there and try it again. Okay, This is a good, well-placed radar. Nice. I'm not going to crank this thing up because I'm just going to melt OBS again. So that will be our first radar. A long track, by the way, it's a semi-mobile system. It has a really, really long range of 200 nautical miles. That's, yeah, I think we're pretty good. So now that we have our big kind of our, hey, where's everybody kind of radar, now we need to start filling in some of the gaps. Now, as I mentioned before, because we're surrounded by ocean, we just need to set up radars in a way that they can see as far into the ocean as possible. So what are we looking for? Peninsulas. So poking our way down here, this is actually a really tough spot to place a single radar. Our issue here is if I put it here in the middle, I can't see that way. If I put it here in the end, I kind of restrict my vision this way because of the height of these mountains. So we need to find basically the furthest west point that we can get ourselves on. And it looks like it's going to be this little tiny mountain right here. It's 56 feet. Let's go ahead and we'll throw on a P18 this time. We'll go ahead and grab the air defense version. Let me grab that. Let's see how we did this time. I think this one's going to be a little better. Yeah, we did a nice job with that one. Good game, good game. Good. So now we have coverage. Again, P18, by the way, I think it's a 2D, but it's a long-range radar. Yeah, 200 nautical miles again. So that gives us this entire arc completely covered for anybody coming in. We even get a little bit of this direction, which I think is kind of added bonus. Okay, so we've covered this side of the island. We've covered kind of our main part of the island. Let's take a look at the northern part of the island. Now, one of the bummer parts is if the Royal Air Force wanted to kind of sneak through the Scottish Isles, they'd have about, oh, what is this distance? 12 nautical miles to cover. So we're not going to have a lot of warning that they're coming from that direction. But at the very least, we can keep an eye on Scotland with a well-placed radar. So again, we're going to apply the same philosophy here. So we could go ahead and position our radar. Okay, we can't. There's nothing there. Well, we could do that. We'll go ahead and use a P15 this time. A little bit more classic, but it still works pretty well. There we go. We've got a squad eye. Go ahead and flip on the line of sight tool. See how we did. Nicely done. Perfectly done. Now, the squad eye does not have the range that the other radars do. We only have 110 nautical miles. Let me go ahead and drag out 110. Plenty. Okay, which leaves us with this side of the island where we're going to put our early warning radar. Actually, up here, we're going to need something too. So where do we put our early warning radar here? Now, there's not really an obvious peninsula, which means I just need to find the tallest mountain that I can finally put myself on here. Putting the radar here would be silly because then we can't see through these two mountains. Putting the radar up here, a little better because we can see to these mountains, but we won't really be able to see through here. So it's very tempting to put somebody in the corner there. It's very tempting to put something here. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at these mountains with my mouse here and take a look at my elevations. I saw 2247 for a second there. Oh, I saw even higher. Yeah, this is the bane of all map editors. You wish you had a function that you could just automatically lock onto the tallest mountain. There we go. Let's go ahead and put something really long range up here. Let's put P37. Go ahead and click that one. Let's go ahead and see how we did with the line of sight. Nice. Not perfect, but not bad either. And like I said, I was really worried about this corner being blind. Let's go up to 100. Let's refresh that. We got a little bit of a blind spot right there, but again, it's nothing I'm too worried about because the enemy is going to have to be able to exploit that perfectly. But I still don't like the fact that I don't have good visibility coming in at the southern part of the island. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find something nice and tall that has a good line of sight. That looks pretty good to me. Go ahead and put a P40 on there. Grab that one. I think we're good. That should be about all we need at this point. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Not bad. I almost would rather put him over here, though. Yeah, it's just going to work better if I stick it right here. This is the nice thing. You can move it with the line of sight. So that did not improve things. That's better. There we go. We found the spot. So now we can see all of our southern islands. All right. So that's it for our early warning radar. You're probably sitting there going, how many early warning radars do you really need? The reality is you need as many as it takes to make sure that you're protected. So I'm going to grab this one and call this EW group. Now this is actually important. You'll see why a little later on. So now for the fun part, we need to consider how we're going to place our surface-to-air missile batteries. Now for this scenario, we're going to be sticking only to pretty much legacy systems. That means our SA2, 3, pretty much the single-digit systems if you want to think about it another way. So in the other video, I talked a little bit about the difference between area and kind of tactical and division level SAMs and things like that. So the way I'm going to do this is pretty much the same way I'm going to do my early warning radars. I'm going to press the 9 key so I can see everybody. I'm going to go ahead and press the asterisk also so I can see what kind of targets I have. Now, SA2s are fixed sites. That means the Royal Air Force are going to know where they are and they're probably going to make a definite effort to blow them up. Now, one of the nice things about Ireland is there's a pretty good amount of forests in different places that we can kind of hide these things. As a matter of fact, check this out. We can actually flip on the land cover mode, if we wanted to get really scientific about this, but again, I know that limited time and a limited attention span, we could actually intentionally put our SAMs on mountains that have forest cover in them. That would be like double points. But again, I'm not going to worry about that too much for the scenario, but I definitely am interested in altitudes. So where do we put our SAMs? So first of all, it's how many SAMs do you have at your disposal? Because if I have 30 SA2s, you can bet there's going to be 30 SA2s deployed somewhere down here in this environment to make things interesting for my opponents. But on the flip side, I'm going to try to keep it to what I think is reasonable. And again, as a map editor, a map designer, a mission designer, I should say, you're going to have to decide what is reasonable to you. This is taking a little while for some reason, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and see if we can spot clusters of targets that we need to protect. Now, obviously, we're very interested in protecting our capital, so we're definitely going to have an SA2 there. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Can we get an SA2 in here in a way that's going to cover everybody? So first of all, imagine the enemy. So if I come this way, obviously I'm going to know they're coming. If they come through these mountains, it's going to be kind of tough to spot them until it's too late. So putting these, like an SA2 site that can see over this valley would be pretty effective, because then I can kind of hit people over here and people down here. So I'm liking putting them up here. Let's see here. If I do it 1847, let's go ahead and get ourselves a 2F. That's kind of the nice one. Of course, is the D&E, which I like a little better, but that's all right. All right, what does that do for us for range? Not bad. So I'm actually going to set range mode to be all units, and I'm also going to shut off merge symbols so I can see. So that's actually a pretty well-placed SA2. You can see that I've got all these buildings all covered pretty much all under the same umbrella right here. Let's see if there's another class. Definitely up here. This is a very logical place for an SA2. Let's see if I can get a pretty good amount of coverage of everybody. That looks pretty good. How about up here? I don't think I need an SA2 here. It's a single unit up here. I mean, we do have the power station that's kind of there, so if I did want to put an SA2, I could kind of put it here, so I can kind of cover this whole valley. Actually, it's not a bad idea. I'm going to do that as well. I'm going to move it just a little bit towards the military base, so I can kind of get a free shot on anybody coming in this way. Up here, I can't put an SA2. Look at how heavy the mountains and glaciation and canyons and all this stuff are. You're never going to be able to get a missile off in time there. Obviously, you could put an SA2 on the highest mountain up here, but the enemy's going to exploit these canyons. It's not going to work. He's on his own. I'm not going to put an SA2 there. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so we have a military base and a TV station. I don't really care about that very much, but we need our propaganda, so I'm going to go ahead and put one right there as well. It also covers anybody coming across the center of the island. Scooting down here, we've got a military base by his lonesome, but he's really exposed. So well, I guess we could cover both. I don't know why I said port crane. I think I meant to do a port there, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and provide him with a little bit of protection. I'm going to go ahead and mount an SA2 on the mountains up here. Scooting down here, worthless. Coming over here, there's an industrial plant in a valley. I don't think so. Can't protect that. Okay, this is good. We can work with this. So we have basically a little cluster of these different structures really, really close to each other. So I notice there's a very tall mountain peak right here that would actually get me coverage for all these. There appears to be also a mountain peak over here. I don't like that as much. Let me try this one right here. Hey, there we go. So now if the enemy is stupid enough to be flying high, we get kind of a freebie. The problem is that they fly low, they're going to get us real easily. Like, they're going to be able to hit this all day, all afternoon, but we'll come back to that in a little later. Which leaves us with an arrangement that looks a little bit like this. So that's not that bad. That's going to get us a little bit of protection. It's, again, an SA2, think of it as an area SAM. And when we do this video with modern SAMs and modern IADs, by the way, I keep saying the word IADs. If you want to learn a little bit more about what that is, it's just an integrated air defense system. If you go online and search for SAM Simulator Forum, there's this really, really neat little topic on IADS, Integrated Air Defense System, and they talk to you a little bit about this, especially this link, which brings you to this handy dandy little PDF right here, which is kind of fun. I love this picture here where they don't have radar, so they just use headphones, which is kind of cool. Anyway, I'm going too far with that. So now we're pretty well set up for the big stuff. Now we're going to switch up to the little shorter range stuff, the SA3. Now remember, the SA3 was designed to complement the SA2. The idea here was that basically the SA2 kind of gets the bombers, and the SA3 kind of deals with the leakers. We're going to use that same philosophy here. So let's go ahead and take a look. Can we get two of these guys under an SA3 window? Keep in mind also an SA3 is a much faster and a more maneuverable missile. So we can take advantage of its shorter range. So taking a look here, we have our military base, our power station, our naval dock. We might actually be able to get them all under the branch of a single SA3. Whoop, helps if you actually type it in correctly. There we go. Not quite. I'm just debating if there's, I don't think there's going to be a quick solution to do that. But at the very least, our power station is completely protected and our dock is well protected. I'm actually going to unprotect. Oh, we also have this situation. Oh, I see where to put it. right there. Bingo. So this SA3 basically is going to sit here at this inlet, and if anybody's stupid enough to try to fly through the inlet, they're going to get a real surprise on either side, and it'll also be able to provide a little bit of protection over the military base. Coming down this way, it looks like these two structures are pretty close to each other. There's also this little sector control station, all that good stuff down here. I definitely want to give these a little bit of extra protection, so I'm going to throw in an SA3 there. I feel like I'm not protecting anything when I do that. Remember, if you try to protect everything, you protect nothing. There's a valley in here, though, and I want to be able to take advantage of that. Let's put that. No, I don't like that either. Again, there's no reason to protect anything that's over here. Maybe this is going to require two. Well, we'll just go ahead and play with it. All right, that looks good. Same kind of problem here. If I put the SA3 up here, we're going to have some issues shooting through these mountains. Obviously, we have a couple bunkers. We need to protect them. So I'm actually going to put the SA3. This is going to seem weird. I'm going to put it right here, because that means I cover not only those two buildings, but anybody who's silly enough to try to come in and get protected by this set here. Scrolling down here, obviously this is the most critical stuff. I'm going to go ahead and drop an SA3 pretty much in the middle of town. The idea here is if there's any precision guided munitions, I can use the SA3 to protect them. This stuff here, it'd be really nice to get an SA3 here, because that will protect us from anybody trying to sneak up. Whoop, I didn't mean to make two, I just meant to make one. That'll protect us from anybody kind of scooting that way. We have him sort of sitting by his lonesome. He's sitting by his lonesome. I'm going to leave those two alone. We have our naval dock. We have this stuff up here. All right, so that's it for the SA3s. Now, the SA4s, I'm going to skip. An SA4 is sort of a unique weapon. If I did have an SA4 to deploy, I'd probably deploy it watching this side of the entire map. It has an incredibly long range. It just doesn't have a lot of missiles on board. So as a result, you're going to end up running out of missiles very quickly with it, even though it's a great system. So it's tough to use. But if I did have one, and just for example purposes, I'll kind of have it protect us on the ocean on the backside. I'm going to get the Krug. There we go. Nice. So he's basically going to cover that little peninsula here, and he could be using his battalion radar too to help us spot. Okay, which brings us to the SA5. You can't hear me, but I'm rubbing my hands together. So the SA5, as you know, is an amazingly long-range area SAM. It is not the most deadly SAM in the world, but it is amazing how far it can shoot. Now, my initial instinct with that would be to put it here and basically kind of early warning with missiles. But I'd rather use it. If I only had a single one of those to play with, I'd try to put it in a position where it could provide the most coverage to the most important areas all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to park it somewhere in here. Let's see if I can get a decent altitude here. And that's all 48. I'm actually going to check this real quick. We're going to do an SA5C. Grab the one from the Soviet Union. That looks pretty good. Look at that range. So that's going to protect all of the pretty much core of Ireland here. And if they do come from this direction, which is kind of the logical direction to come from, they would end up getting hammered by that. So that's going to work well. My only concern is it's going to be probably too close to the action. Actually, that really bothers me. I'm going to move it back. I don't want it to get too close to the action because it's going to get hit with a harm. That's no good. Or I should say, a Martel, I believe, is going to be the British ARM of the times. Okay, so now we've taken care of that. Let's talk about the SA6. The SA6 is a short-range, amazingly high-speed engagement system. It is spectacular at protecting point targets. It is not great at protecting area targets. So now we need to take a look. Is there anything that we haven't protected yet? Ah, I see that very clearly. So we have, I believe this is our port crane, I goofed it up, and we have an oil refinery. So what if we were to place an SA6 in a place that we could snipe anybody who tries to come ripping through here? So where could we put them? The mountains are just so strong here. Obviously, we could stick it up here to sort of see over. Let's go ahead and try that real quick. Whoop, an SAC, right? No, we need the cravat. Where's the one I like? Ah, there it is. So our problem here is this stuff's problem. No, we can actually shoot down into these. Yeah, we can shoot into that fjord. Nice. That's excellent. Actually, this is a perfect place. I'm gonna leave it right there. You stay there. All right, so that's a good thing to use an SA6 for. Let's see who else. He's all by his lonesome. It's a naval dock. That's an important target. I'm gonna go ahead and mount an SA6 on the nearby mountain also. Let's see who else we're not protecting very well here. We've got you in the middle of nowhere. Power station, I have something special for. I'm gonna actually wait on that. These targets, they're not critical, but I'm going to leave them there. We have an industrial plant. I got a special thing for that. Industrial plant, not worried too much about that. Military base, industrial plant. What do we got here? Another military base. Yeah, that's more of a point target, and he's not being protected well. It's probably a priority target, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out an SA6 for these two as well. Let's see here. We have a cluster of targets here. And again, there's really important stuff here. I believe this is where we have our bunkers and things like that. Whenever you have a bunker, the enemy is going to attack you at a lower altitude. So I highly recommend providing a little bit extra security. Although most of our bunkers are up this way. Let's go ahead and add something like that here. Kind of like those three. Put that right there. Actually going to move you. I don't need quite that much coverage. There we go. Perfect. Notice I'm putting it in the valley. This is a low altitude system. Use this to trap the enemy rather than try to plink at them. Flying up here, I believe that's a geothermal plant. There's a military base. There's a power station. I believe that's a naval dock. There's a probably just trying to work this out real quickly. We have a couple bunkers. It's probably worthwhile to drop one in here as well. Okay, so that's the SA-6. SA-7, which would be an infrared guided missile, I'm going to skip it because all these batteries have SA-7s. SA-8, so this is a very short range. Are you talking like 5 to 10 miles short range system? However, it's extremely accurate, which means we can use it to attack precision guided munitions. So this is when I'm going to go find my power plants and protect them. So I have my power plant right here. I'm actually going to park the SA-8 so that it can only engage things attacking the power plant directly. Go ahead and grab the OSA. Park that one right there. I believe we had another one of these. Yep, right down here. He's going to get his own OSA protection. Keep in mind, I'm not putting him on the hill. I only want him to be able to have line of sight on missiles that are going to strike the power plant. I don't want him wasting his missiles on everything that flies by. Now, this is a unique scenario because this power plant is actually in this valley. So if I put the SA-8 up here, it would shoot at everything. If I put it in the valley, it would only shoot at things in the valley. The problem is, if you do that, his engagement time is too slow to be able to be too quick. So this is the one time I will actually put it up on the hill next to the thing it's trying to protect. Obviously, you want to make sure you protect your radar sites, but in this case, I'm not going to. We have another industrial plant here. We have another industrial plant here. Just trying to take a look real quickly. We got a military base. We got an SA-6 up there. Yeah, we got some pretty good coverage. All right, SA-6, SA-7, 8, SA-9. SA-9 is a very short-range infrared guided missile system. For us, the only thing we can use that for is ambushes. Now, if we're fighting against players, again, we're designing this as a mission designer's perspective. We want to think like the player does and put these things in a place that they're least likely to expect to see one of them. So just kind of take a look at this for a second with my little circles. Do you see any spots on the map where clearly your opponent would try to come in at a low altitude and attempt to kind of sneak through? Now I can see several just kind of sitting here for a second. The first ones are up here, the second ones are up here, but do you see the tricky one? Yeah, you do see that tricky one, don't you? They're going to do something through here. And you're sitting there go, why? Well, let me zoom in a little bit here. This is an SA-3, and this is an SA-2 coverage. This is an SA-3. You could actually do one of these things like this and completely dodge every single one of those systems, and now you basically got free reign to come around the back for a lot of these spots. So if I think the enemy is going to come in at low altitude to try to be sneaky, they're going to try to get it right in here. So to dissuade them from doing that, I'm going to add an SA-9. Again, an SA-9 is simply a very, very short range infrared guided missile. It is not the best system on Earth, but it's a great surprise. You'd be amazed what you can hit with these things. So let's go ahead and see if there's any other spots like this. Obviously, like I said, up in the top. Let's see if they come ripping down this valley here. Try to do, okay. Wouldn't it be a surprise if there's an SA-9 waiting for you at the open to that? Oh, geez, that'd be such a pain in the butt. Looks like we have the same thing in here because they could kind of shield themselves with this mountain here. So let's put one right here. And of course, like I said, if they come ripping in this way, they're going to get a real big surprise from those infrared guided missiles. Let's see, definitely down here in the south, if they try to fly in this valley, trying to dodge that SA-8, it'd be a shame if there was an SA-9 waiting for them to hit them at low altitude as they try to do that. This works with AAA too, by the way. Coming up here, I don't really have these bases well defended or anything like that. But if the opponent were to try to sneak through here, it would be a shame if there was an SA-9 waiting for them to try to catch them at short altitude, low altitude. And I think I want to put one up here. I'm just trying to figure out exactly. I think it's going to be in here somewhere. Yeah, I mean, if the enemy comes in this way, I'm just trying to kind of follow with the map. Isn't it amazing we have maps this accurate? This is more accurate than the bad guys probably get. I'm putting them right here. All right, we are good to go. So that is my integrated air defense system. Now, one thing you're probably saying is that's not really an integrated air defense system. You basically have a bunch of SAMs relying on EW radars to kind of pass on information. Yeah, that's exactly what an integrated air descent system does. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out real quickly. So if you want to imagine right now in our little country, this is a map of Ireland right here, and these are all early warning and all these other sites. I believe this is Almaz. This is a Russian system. Yeah, I can tell by the lettering here. This is their version of NORAD for that sector defense command. It's actually pretty cool how this works. So if we wanted to simulate that more accurately inside of this program, we basically have got that all pre-set up because everybody can talk to everybody. If we wanted to simulate SAMs that could not talk to each other and were not integrated, you could actually click on a SAM system, right click, and actually set them out of communication so that they can't talk to everybody else here and pass on targeting information, which is so critical for them to be able to be efficient. All right, one last thing we need to do before we get too carried away. By the way, one thing you can do if you want to go a little too far is you can actually set it up so if you lose your early warning radars, you could automatically turn on the radars of the SAM sites using Lua. It's a little bit involved. The actual command for it, if you in case you're really curious, looks a little bit like this. You just have to link that to a trigger, but that's a little outside the scope of everything we're doing today. Okay, so last thing I want to do is I want to do my WRA. This is the part that everybody goofs up. So first things first, we have these 5YA-23 missiles for the SA-2s. So first off, what are we shooting at? Do not waste your missiles on something that does not need to be shot down. Since we're dealing with potentially enemy bombers and some tactical aircraft, I'm not even going to bother launching at missile targets I can't identify. You're sitting there going, whoa, 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 they're going to get by. No, they're not. We're going to be able to identify them somehow. Unspecified, 3 rounds. Fifth generation fighter, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. High performance bombers, 3. You're sitting there going, whoa, 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 it's a 55% chance to hit every time. No. Bombers have defensive ECM and they have chaff. You're going to need 3. The other point is you're only going to get a single salvo before your SAM site is destroyed. Keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and grab that. Let's go ahead. Oh, no, okay. It's doing 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds. Helicopter, please don't bother. Guided weapon with an SA-2? I don't think so. You're wasting your time engaging that guided weapon. Don't bother doing it. So then last but not least, let's look at our automatic firing range. We don't want to fire anything greater than probably the no escape zone. So I'm just going to set that to 20. Set that to 20. 20. Again, it'll be well within our DLZ. So that's good. All right, we don't have the F mod. We don't have the M3s, but we do have SA3s. Same exact technique here. We're going to go ahead and shut off unknown type aircraft. Don't waste your ammo against something you don't know what it is, because otherwise you're just going to get hammered by anti-radiation missiles. Aircraft unspecified, 3. Now here's where it gets a little bit of fun. Do we want them to attack fighters or do we not want them to attack fighters? Here's the thing. If we attack fighters with these guys, what's going to end up happening is we're going to run out of ammunition and then we're going to get armed. We've got to use these particular platforms against enemy bombers. So I'm going to crank it up to 3, but I'm actually going to disable it for attacking these fighters because you're just going to waste them. We can always come back and adjust this later in the scenario if we know they've run out of harms. Or arms, I should say, not harms. All right, bombers on the flip side, spam. Use 3, because remember, you're only going to get a single salvo before you are destroyed. Reconnaissance platforms, don't waste your time. Oh, cool, AWACS, yeah, absolutely. I don't think so. Helicopter, please don't do that. Guided weapon, no. You're sitting there going, no, 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 you have to defend yourself. Dude, it's not going to work. You're going to get destroyed as soon as you launch your first salvo. Just keep that in mind. The SA-4. The SA-4 is on the other side of the island. If he does have to engage anybody, I'm actually going to leave him at default. They, of course, have the 4A and B. SA-5. This is the one everybody gets wrong. So first off, if we don't know the type of target, please don't waste your ammo on it. Second item, if there's an unspecified target, we're going to want to fight 3. This is the same thing as these guys up here. You're sitting there going, you're going to go through a lot of ammunition. I have 60 rockets at an SA-5 site. I'll be okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to set the range. Don't you dare fire at max range. If you do that, you lose line of sight on the target before you can hit anything. 100 nautical miles, that's like 15,000 feet. Keep that in mind. 40 miles is, I think, like 3,000 feet. So kind of keep that in the back of your head. Obviously, we can measure this really carefully and make sure we're only getting, Ireland with it, basically. So that would be, yeah, about 90 miles. But I'm going to leave it at 100 for now. So 100. Okay, let's see here. 5th generation fighter, please don't waste ammo on fighters. Of course, you're sitting there going, well, okay, wait a minute. Isn't the point of... Oh, actually, bombers. Yeah, 3. 33333. Reconnaissance, don't waste your ammo on them. Remember, as soon as you fire, you're destroyed. The SA-5, he's got a little bit more flexibility. And again, we can always come back and change that later on, too. So micro UAV, I don't think so. Let's see, helicopter, yeah, don't bother with a helicopter. Guided weapon, you're never going to be able to hit it. Don't waste your time. All right, so that's it for the SA-5. The SA-6, I'm going to leave alone. You're probably sitting there going, what's up with that? The only thing I'm going to change on the SA-6 here is I'm going to disable guided weapon also. If you're going to get destroyed by harm, there's nothing you can do about it. You're not going to be able to shoot it down. Same thing with the SA-6B. I'm actually going to allow these to fire their full shots. Now, you're probably saying, why don't you go with 3 rounds each? Well, the reality is you only have 6. So at least that's 3 attacks if you got lucky. But again, you're just going to be wasting ammo with those guided weapons. SA-7, go nuts. SA-8, this is where it gets a little more fun. What do we do here? I leave it alone. The SA-8 does a really, really good job on its own of protecting itself. So I'm actually going to leave that. And of course, the SA-9, go nuts. If you're going to be able to hit a target with an SA-9, you might as well fire 2 because the percent of kill on this is so low. And now we're good to go. Sorry for all that, but let's see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and unpause now. I'm going to go ahead and merge everything real quickly so you don't have to go blind here. Merge range symbols, and we're good. So we're going to go shut off our relief layer. We're going to go flip on the BMNG layer. We're going to unpause. Send in the British Air Force. I should say the Royal Air Force. I apologize again. Let's go ahead and double check to make sure our early warning radars are indeed warning. Just checking to make sure everything's working. Oh, I messed up. Where are my early warning radars? There they are. I've had them off the whole time. How embarrassing. By the way, they don't work if you don't turn them on. All right, good. Things are working as planned. So we've immediately spotted a bunch of targets. You notice, by the way, they appear to be appearing for a second, then they disappear, then they appear, then they disappear. You're probably wondering why that is. That's because the radar is rotating like this. So it sees them, it doesn't see them. It sees them, it doesn't see them. I think you get the idea. So it's pretty safe to say there's a group of enemies coming towards us. Remember, the moment you light up your fire control radar, you will be destroyed. So we need to only attack the targets we know are actually dangerous. So go ahead and speed up time a little bit here. And it looks like they're going for us in the north. I'm going to go ahead and order these guys to be hostile, even though we don't have a way to confirm that unless we have a camera. Speaking of cameras, while we're waiting for everybody to get in a position, if you want to make your system even more deadly in your missions, you can do something like this. You can do a forward observer. We can do let's call it a watchtower. Add a watchtower like this to it. And basically what this watchtower does, if I recall correctly, is it has a spotlight. Oh, that's not that useful. So let's add a pair of binoculars. Check it out. So now we have a group that has a little pair of binoculars inside a little watchtower. The neat thing about this is they'll actually be able to identify an enemy that you can see visually. So of course, if this were a night attack, which is what I would expect NATO to do, you probably want to get some night vision goggles also. Night vision, there we go. Second generation detection. So at least that way they can kind of see stuff that's coming at them. Keep in mind in our scenario, there's a lot of clouds, which makes our identification problem a little bit tougher. So keep in mind, if this were a normal scenario, we'd probably have missiles already starting to fire. But we're not going to fire until we can identify the type of target that we're doing. So we need these are attack planes. Leave them alone. We need to get them a little bit closer. Okay, we've identified them as Harriers, which are actually pretty dangerous. And we've got one unidentified guy. That's another Harrier. Harriers do carry bombs. Wonder who these guys are. Those are Buccaneers. Okay. It's nerve-wracking a little bit. I know the folks at home are going, aren't you going to start firing? No. I need to get the important targets, not the unimportant targets. Notice these guys who dropped to low altitude. We have our little SA-9 sitting there. It looks like they're going to be going for... What are they going for here? They're going for something up this way. All right, that's too close. The Buccaneers, I think the Buccaneers, can the Buccaneers actually carry bombs? They probably can. Oh, though I think I know what the Buccaneers are doing. All right, unfortunately, we have not identified our bombers yet. That's troublesome. So these Harriers, of course, are just ripping along, and they're not going to be quite in range to actually engage. Keep in mind, the SA-9 launches without warning. they're just going to suddenly get hit with a SAM, which is kind of nice. Actually, screw that. Unassign. Attack this group. If assuming you can. These guys might be up too high. Yeah, they're diving down. All right, we'll speed up time a little bit. Now you'll notice missiles just got launched. What is that? That's an SA-7. Those guys flew too low. But notice they did not attack my SA-2. That's what I'm guessing the Buccaneers are used for, because I believe they're the ones who carry the anti-radiation weapons. Notice my SA-5 has started to fire. He must have spotted somebody. The neat thing with an SA-5 is they have the ability to identify its targets by its radar. We picked those. Oh, Vulcans. Gotcha. Gotcha. Those are Harriers. That's dangerous. We identified some of their heavy bombers. Now, it would be a shame if you guys got too close to this SA-9. I think these guys are up too high. Yeah, Vulcans. That's bad news. That's bad news. Now, watch. The SA-2s now are going to start engaging the Vulcan bombers only, as opposed to bothering everybody else. Last thing in the world you want to do is open fire on these guys, because I have a feeling these are anti-radiation missile carriers. Again, know the enemy. Uh-oh, we've lost sight of that attack group that was just passing through. Nope, we got him again. All right, this SAM site, you're going to have to get to it in a second. Yeah, I guess he was positioned on the backside of the hill and he's having a tough time, but just turn on my vision real quick. Or these guys are extremely low. Just for a second. No, he just has no line of sight. Meanwhile, look at the SA-5 going to town here. He's having a fun time. Yeah, these guys must be ripping along the countryside very, very low. Yep, there they are. Meanwhile, my SA-5 is doing what I designed the SA-5 for. And we finally launched my SA-2s. Notice it's 3. And our SA-5 is doing a delightful job here. 1, 2, and 3. Notice the 3 missiles were not able to attack. Meanwhile, their escorts are probably freaking out and turning around. Oh, they ducked behind a mountain. I should have put an SA-9 there. I'm more interested in whoever this is right here, personally. Unfortunately, I think we're out of weapons in the SA-2. Is that it? I think that's it. That's a bummer. We're about to get bombed in about half a second here. Yeah, it's going to take about 15 minutes to reload. Bummer! Oh, splattered. Alright, looks like the bombers have selected their next targets. Uh-oh. They're rejoining. There's my SA-5. He's having a great day today. Just look at him go. Okay, now we've identified the enemy targets, which means now we can start picking them off individually. Oh, they're jamming. No surprise there. This particular site, this SA-2, is going to have a lifespan of about 30 seconds because he's about to get hammered by anti-radiation missiles. Yep, there they are. Oh no, are the SAMs going to get there before the anti-radiation missiles get there? Yes, I think the SAMs are going to get there in time. Now, had I only fired 2, oh no! Ah! Well, there goes that SAM. So he's out of commission. But the good thing is he at least got 2 missiles that had the possibility of destroying a target. Meanwhile, Mr. SA-5 is having a good day. Our SA-6, which remember, he has an amazingly aggressive weapon here. Extremely precise. Nicely done. They flew right into my trap. Keep in mind, every time he turns that radar on, he's going to get hammered. Here they come. Here they come. So those are the anti-radiation missiles. They're going to be destroying my SA-6 next. Oh, that was lame. Good try, good try, good try. Good try. Nope. Meanwhile, my SA-5 with that amazingly long range is just having a great day. Keep in mind, he's going to run out of ammo, though. I wonder what's left now. I see some people starting to take off and head back that direction. Ah! No, just that group. All right, we have, who's next? We have an SA, that's an SA-3. Yep, that poor Vulcan is about to get hammered. Watch this. If those don't do it, this will. Yep. Who's over here? Those are Buccaneers. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. They tried, they tried. and everybody goes home. Okay, let's take a look at how effective my defense was. I lost nothing. I fired a few. I did fire. Let's see. We lost a couple SA2s, a couple SA6s, and SA7. We lost a base. Bummer, bummer. We went through plenty of these, obviously. We went through a good amount of those, good amount of this. They lost 10 Harriers and 12 Vulcans. All right. Hopefully, you thought this was an interesting way to kind of look at things. And again, at the end of the day, as soon as this battle happened, I'd have to tell everybody to pick themselves up and move because they wouldn't be able to. Again, a smarter player would be able to create a more tricky assault, but you actually saw just how many weapons they launched at us unsuccessfully. They barely had the opportunity to deploy their weapons, and we still shot down every single one of their bombers. Granted, the SA-5 did the heavy lifting. I'll give you that. So anyway, hopefully this was kind of interesting. We'll take a look at this again with modern aircraft and modern surface-to-air missile systems later. Enjoy.